The featured image function allows the author of a post or page to define a specific image in their post that is to be displayed in different places. This image is handled differently from the general images in each post and can be used to do some pretty cool stuff. To start off with, we're going to create a conditional statement that displays the featured image if it is defined at the top of the single post view. But before we do this, let's take a look at what happens when we try to add a featured image to a post right now. So I'll go and add a new post. Click Add New, and then give it a title. This post has a featured image. And then I'll go to my site and just copy out some text. So I have some text. And then I'll scroll to the bottom here, go to Featured Image, and then I'll go to Media Library, because I already uploaded a bunch of images, and I'll choose this Red Roses Close-Up, and go down, and click Use as Featured Image. Then I'll give this a category, Items, and click Publish. Now when I go to the front page, you'll see we have this post has a featured image, and you don't see an image. And when we go to the single page, we still don't see an image. So what we want to do here is add the featured image at the very top. To do that, we need to change the template for the single post. Now in the past, and for most themes, changing the single post means changing the file called single.php. But in the 2010 theme, and in most other modern themes, the actual loop content inside the single post is actually contained in a separate file called loop single. So we're going to grab the loop single file and copy it over into our child theme, and then work with that one. Now I can go to my code editor, refresh the view, and open loop single. Here we're going to add the code that displays the featured image. I'll go down to line 33, because that's where we're going to add it. You see it says PHP the content. This is where all the content is displayed. And I want the featured image to display right before the content. So I'll add a new line. And then I'll add in the code to display the featured image. Starts with a PHP delimiter, and then you say the post thumbnail. And then single quote, and I define a size. Now I have a lot of sizes at my disposal here. I have small, medium, large, and the thumbnail. In this case, I want to have the large image because the large image will fit into my design. As you can remember, it's 616 pixels wide. So if I now save this file, go back in my browser, and reload the page, you'll see the image displays at the very top here. Cool, eh? Well, I can make it even cooler. If I wrap this in a style tag, so I'll create a container and give it the class featured image. This is a style I already created previously. And I'll put the end of that at the end of my featured image call. And I'll just do some cleanup work here. If I now save it and reload it, this image will now have a container around it. But of course, you don't really see a difference because this image spans the entire width. Now watch what happens if I change the size. So I'll go, instead of saying large, I'll say medium. If you remember, the medium size is 280 by 280 pixels. So now, when I reload it, we get the 280 by 280 pixel image, and it's floating to the left. I can also insert the small one, and we get the 75 by 75 image. Now, I know you're going to ask, what about if you just say post thumbnail? Well, if I take out the actual definition of what size I want, I get what is defined as the post thumbnail. And the post thumbnail in the 2010 theme is defined as the header image. So, you guessed it, if I do this, I end up with the header image size. So if I save it and reload it, you'll see here we have the header image size, and it's so large it spans behind all the content, which is not surprising because the header image is quite large. But the point here is you now have complete control over what is displayed. But there's one more question. What happens if I don't have a featured image attached to this? Because if I didn't have a featured image attached to this post, I would still get an empty div, and that's just not good. You should never have an empty div floating around in your code. So what I'm going to do is make the function conditional on the fact that there is a featured image in there. So I'll go back to my code, and I'll wrap the div in a function. So I'll say if has post thumbnail, and then curly bracket, and then I'll end my if call down here, end curly bracket. Now, the image still displays, but if I go to a post that doesn't have a featured image, like the Hello World post, you'll see if we right-click on some content here and say Inspect Element, that above Entry Content, we don't have a featured image ID. And that's what we want. So now we have a conditional statement that displays the featured image if it exists in the size we want. The featured image function is a powerful feature that can be used in a number of different ways, the most basic of which is to display it in the post it was defined in. The ability to pick the size you want to display gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to designing your site and helps create a consistent look throughout.